What's up, everyone? I'm here, Synyster Gates from Avenged Sevenfold. We're in their home studio here. Should I say where it is? Costa Mesa Recording Studios.
Yeah, why not?
In great, what town is this? Is it Costa Mesa? Is that right?
We are in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Flagstaff, Arizona.
Yeah, we're in a hidden underground area, something like that.
And this is part of my, I know I look all washed out here and everything because it's bright up here, but
Can we turn down the lights? This is it's the first time for me, so.
this is, yeah, we don't do, I do this all day. Perfect, that's great.
Yeah, there we are.
There we go, perfect.
Respectable looking now.
So he's going live on Instagram right now. Hey, everybody, Instagram, I'm Rick Beato. You guys know him. So this is really my first day here I'm out here to visit, I'm out here for NAMM, and Syn and I, you've seen him on my channel before, and he's was kind enough to invite me over today to hang out. We're gonna make a video here in a little bit. Are we related? Well, if we were related, I would be his dad, but I know his dad. I'm not his dad, but
It'd be nice.
That's very funny, though. Are we related?
I know. Just I guess I'm a good-looking guy.
Okay, so who are your favorite guitarists? That's one question I just saw.
Favorite guitar players. Well, you are absolutely one of my favorite guitar
come
players. Not lying at all. But the guys that I really grew up listening to would probably be like Slash, Dimebag Darrell, absolutely incredible. John Petrucci is amazing. And then at like 17, 18 years old, my life was changed by Frank Gambale. And that's when I learned eco picking and all the crazy stuff that just, like, I couldn't alternate pick to save my life. And
Okay.
so when that stuff came out, it was insane.
All right, talk about your dad and his influence. His dad is a great guitar player.
Yeah, my dad's been in and out of sessions his whole entire life. When he was 17, he played with Frank Zappa and a bunch of different people. And so, yeah, music was always in the house. He was always amazing with giving me some information here and there. And yeah, he just was never completely hands-on because he never wanted to like ruin it for music. Like I took piano lessons and hated piano subsequent to that, and so he didn't want to do that experiment all over. So yeah, but genius musician.
And it's interesting because your dad plays rock, he's a jazz musician that plays rock, that probably started playing rock first, right?
Right.
And then got into jazz and fusion. Did he play you a lot of music like that when you were growing up?
Yeah, he played me everything. I mean, we were just talking about Frampton. He big Humble Pie fan. Frampton's one of his favorite guitar players. Frampton Comes Alive is maybe his favorite rock record. I'm not sure, but tons of Zeppelin. But we also listened to Steely Dan. You know, we listened to George Benson, Joe Pass, like all those guys, Django Reinhardt. You know, so I grew up on all that type of stuff. A lot of classical. He was a huge Bach fan. Which got me into like Chopin and all those different, like the romantic periods and stuff like that.
Okay, but was your dad did you go through a rebellious phase where you're like, well, I don't want to listen to that? Or was your dad kind of just a guy that was hip to a lot of music?
I was never rebellious until until like high school, and so friends had cars and I had a car, and then, you know, girls and fun stuff. And then I put down the guitar for about 4 or 5 years. But I vowed I'd pick it back up when I went to college. But music was always around. He was always playing. That's how he made his living, my entire upbringing. So it was always around. I was always playing a little bit. But yeah, you know, kids got into trouble and shit happens.
So, okay, so questions. Aaron, you got some questions here?
Yeah, question for Synyster Gates. What's your favorite album and why?
Oh, man. I like weird stuff. Mr. Bungle is one of my favorite bands of all time, and I think their self-titled record, their debut record, self-titled, is one of the most incredible pieces of music I've ever heard.
I was just listening to California last week, which
brilliant.
I love that record. It's
Right.
an amazing record.
Yeah, it's a little bit more toned down if you want like the entry level, and then listen to Disco Volante, like maybe never, but to me it's brilliant. It's just out of control. But the crux of what they do, where it's just like metal mixed with martial arts and jazz and
Really with
surf and
everything.
safari. It's just insane. It's insane, all this stuff. And like the vocals, I thought my late great best friend, he introduced me to him when we were in 7th grade, and I thought they had 10 different vocalists. And like my dad's always imparted upon me to listen to different instruments, especially vocals and different things for inspiration, not just guitar players and all that kind of stuff. So I've transcribed so much Mike Patton in my life, it's not even funny.
So I talked to Matt Wallace last week, who produced the Real Thing record, Faith No
Right.
More, because I did What Makes a Song Great on that song, on the song Epic. And I asked him, and I had never met him before. He wrote to me, and I was speaking with him on the phone last week, and I asked him about that record, and I said, why is it that Mike Patton's voice is so different on that record than the rest of them? He said, you know, he would sing some of the tunes when he was warming up, and it would be like Mr. Bungle. And he said, and then he would sing with this kind of snotty punk kid voice on that record. And he said, I want it to be a different sound.
Yeah.
And it was really fascinating he told me all these back, you know, like inside things on the making of the record that was fascinating. I wish that I knew him before I made the video, because that would have been cool. But
because that's one of the biggest mysteries to me, is like there's 2 records, The Real Thing and Mr. Bungle's self-titled, where he has that snotty punk nose, punk kind of thing, and then it's gone.
Right,
forever.
and he never does it again.
And that's my favorite Bungle. I mean, everything else is definitely a close second, you know, or we're splitting hairs, but that was like so magical and transcendent, that thing, and it just was gone like that. It just blows my mind. So to commit that much time and energy into 2 records, like we both know how much time and energy it takes to make a record, to write, and it's years and stuff you can put into those types of things, and to just be done with it.
He had told me too that they
Maybe
had.
that's why, actually.
He said they only had 1 guitar amp. That they had a bunch of mics on. They had 1 PV guitar amp for the bass, and the bass sound on that record on the Real Thing is amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not really about the gear; it's all in the hands. You know that.
Yeah. I like gear. I can.
No, I love gear. I love gear.
You can blame some gear, for good, bad, or indifferent. Yeah, but his tone is just absolutely next level. I mean, there's nothing like it as far as I'm concerned. They take Black Sabbath and just like fucking inject some steroids into it. It's insane. Pioneers.
Aaron.
What was the moment you realized you wanted to do music for a living?
It's pretty much, it sounds like probably a cliche, but it's all I ever knew. My mom was just a brilliant mother, but she was she was a secretary and an office manager, and so she'd come and take care of the kids and work and do that kind of stuff. But that was my mom who took care of me, so it wasn't like a vocational inspiration there. I get maybe my empathy and my love from my mother, but everything that I think is cool in life is my father. You know, like the music, the traveling, you know, the experiences, the hangs in the studio with all of my favorite artists and stuff. That was all him. So fortunately and unfortunately, it was kind of all I knew, and so it was just kind of a given, and I didn't realize how. So I kind of took it for granted, but it was actually really, really hard for me. I wanted to be a studio musician, and I met 0 people in the industry. Nobody. I'm struggling. I went to GIT, and I'm struggling to just introduce myself. This shy kid that doesn't think he can play that well, and meanwhile, all these guys that I've known for about 10 years are kind of writing some music, and it's getting pretty good, and we're having some fun doing that. And then a couple of years later, that just fucking works. You know, so it's kind of weird, and that's what my dad always wanted to do. He never wanted to be a studio musician. He was writing his own music since he was a little kid, which is kind of obscure.
Aaron?
What happened to Pinkly Smooth?
Well, a multitude of things. So Pinkly Smooth is this band. I don't know if you've heard of it, but a band that I had with the Rev when we were kids, and it's just this brilliant piano music he would come up with, and we just get as drunk as humanly possible and drive up to and drive. Then subsequent to that, it's horrible.
Kids,
to Bakersfield.
Don't do this.
Never do it.
I
should have died seriously on so many occasions. But we go up there just hammered, talking about music the whole way, writing even on the way. And we go to Buck Owen's studio where I think Korn cut their first record. And we hung there with a great engineer named Max Reese. And we just cut a bunch of stuff. And it was just this crazy clown goblin metal Danny Elfman influenced stuff. And it was so fun. And then I can't find the masters. I hear that there's actually an ugly rumor that some have surfaced. And if I can find those, then I'm going to remaster it and give it to you guys.
It's interesting that you say Danny Elfman because when I was listening to the Mr. Bungle California record, it occurred to me how Danny Elfman's music and Mr. Bungle's music, there's a similarity between them there's a stylistic similarity that I was trying to find a descriptive word for.
Yeah,
it's like Tim Burton.
Right. It's the difference in like the type of classical almost influences that I hear, whereas like Bungle is super out and like polytonal, and they're like modulating all over the place, and so is Danny Elfman, but he's got this romantic period-esque type of thing with some Tchaikovsky and stuff, and whereas like Bungle is like Stravinsky influence, you know, it's just a little bit like you're stabbing the audience with a knife, whereas Danny Elfman's maybe a little bit more romantic.
They do share some DNA between
For
them,
sure.
and I'm looking for I want to come up with a name for that type of music. I need if anybody has any suggestions for that for a style, a name of that.
I don't know if we got any. I'm just getting compliments, which I really appreciate, but if you got questions, say hi, Kate, please. I'll never say that. Just kidding. Hi, Kate, please. Hey, Jack. There's Jack. Jack's on here. Jack's one of my
What's up, Jack?
star pupils. She loves you, by the way. She's always on your site checking
Cool.
stuff out. She is the one I was talking to you about earlier.
Yeah.
That's like learning like Hail to the King and all this stuff, and really helpful in the community and stuff. So much love to her and many others.
Okay, let's talk about your site,
Yeah.
about your school.
Well, we just got a bunch of stuff happening, you know. It's
Well, hold on. So Synyster has his own school. Of guitar.
Right. It's like so there's like a couple of hundred videos, which I hate to admit, like barely scratch the surface of stuff. You know, it's all about nuance, you know, and how to like really help people learn how to learn. And that's why people like Jack and so many other Ides and Ed and so many other guys that I can't name all of them right now, but they're teaching kids how to learn. So I'm really trying to foster and kind of curate this community where beginners and intermediate, and when Jack started out as an intermediate and even maybe even beginner in certain areas, she just knew she has this inherent ability to learn well in the right way. And so I was, boom, spotlight on her, do what she's doing. And because she was progressing so fast. And so that's the key, is if you can relate it to other kids and people who are having struggles and they don't know where to look, or they're not looking in the right spot, or just one little adjustment might help. It's all about learning from other people who are having those eureka moments. Because how long have you been playing? Do you remember all of your eureka moments that just like completely changed the game for you? Because I definitely don't. I got none.
Mine were so long ago that my memory is not that good. It was like, you know,
I'm at that
dark
point
ages.
too, where definitely it feels like that for me as
Yeah,
well.
and mine's 20 years more. So
yeah, life is tough. But so it's things like that. So I'm really trying to foster that community and help people grow, and it's all for free, you know. We're trying to build different types of infrastructure, to be honest, so people can actually support the school.
So
like a
great.
guitar school or a guitar store with like legitimate things that you can buy that actually people need for good price points and stuff. So we're working on all of that type of stuff, but it just needs to be a one-stop shop where you can meet, learn, be educated, and share with other people, other like-minded people in the community.
I'll put a link in the description after the video here. Aaron, couple more questions. What do you got?
If you could change one thing about the music industry, what would it be?
Ooh, good question.
One thing.
One thing. How about if you could change 5 things?
I got some kind of an immediate sort of thing for rock and metal. I would love to bring streaming to the masses for rock and metal. I think it's, I mean, probably a lot of kids on here, like, oh, duh, we know about Spotify and Apple Music and all that kind of stuff, but it really doesn't exist, and it's kind of hindering growth and support for a lot of these rock bands, you know, great rock bands, great metal bands coming up. The community is kind of withering in certain ways. And I know that there's like a lot of great bands out there and stuff like that, but they used to be so successful, you know, and it would engender other great bands of great success. And with great success in all these facilities, I can't tell you how many of my favorite things that I've come up with have been because I've been in an awesome studio with awesome people, great A&R, great producers, great engineers with the gear to really inspire. And you need a little money for that. And it doesn't mean that you can't go write great music on an acoustic guitar, you know? But we're not all Paul McCartney or John Lennon or certain guys or Rick Beato.
That's true. Oh.
Written some serious hits, no joke. So yeah, I think great A&Ring and all that kind of stuff, but you have to be able to subsidize that. You have to bring money back to that community. So inform and educate about streaming so people can make bucks.
Well, that's a good question. Well, Aaron, what else?
How much of your playing is influenced by Gypsy Jazz?
Good question.
Great question. A lot of it now. It's kind of funny. You do all these things outside of rock and metal once you've explored a lot of rock and metal. And I was just fortunate to grow up and do a lot of those types of things. But I've never been great about like innovating. When things are obvious to other people, like my singer is so good at this. Everybody in the band's great at this. But when I'm playing like a Gypsy Jazz lick or whatever, like, oh, that'd be a cool riff. And I'm, no, it wouldn't. Like, have you heard Gypsy Jazz? That doesn't sound like metal. And then you know, I pick up my electric guitar and I plug it in, and I turn it up, and I start playing these like top string licks, but down here on the lower strings, and all of a sudden you have a sound that, you know, I had personally never heard before, and the rest of the guys are loving it. And then all of a sudden, you know, half the record is Gypsy Jazz masturbating, meandering.
And how did you get into Gypsy Jazz? I mean, was your dad a big Django fan? Was you know?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. We just had this conversation last night. He was playing a lot of country, and he was just like, I remember when I started really getting into the metal stuff, and he would come into the room and be like, "What the hell is that?" And it made me feel so good to have.
Wait. So what kind of stuff were you playing when he came in and said that?
Like sweeping and stuff like that. When I was really getting into sweeping and the Frank Gambale book, which ironically he bought me but never really studied. So he never played eco picking and not a lot of sweeping and stuff. And I was always listening to these shredders and stuff. But so yeah, he'd peek his head in and what the hell is that? And I'd show him, and then he started playing country, and then he'd do all these like. They sound like single line things, but you let other strings ring out. Yeah. So I don't even know the techniques. And he just started and it was blowing my mind. And so I kind of got into it, and it didn't really resonate really with me. And I was like, I kind of got frustrated. Whatever it was, I didn't have the passion for it. And I was listening to Django one day, and I'm like, man, if I could only do that, because it's impossible. It's just impossible. Which playing like Django is, but the art is very attainable. You spend 4 years just, you know, immersed in this music, and you'll be surprised at how much stuff you can pull off and how much fun you'll have.
It's funny that you said you spend 4 years. It's not like you spend 6 months.
No. There's a great meme I saw. It's like, why are you so good? Practice. How come you're such a genius? Practice. And the guitar player keeps saying, no, there's no secret. It's practice, it's practice, it's practice. And that's, you have to be devoted. Find whatever you're devoted to. And do that, because that's the only thing. I'm not gonna, as much as I want to do this or country, I just wasn't gonna do it. So I can't call myself a country player, so I'll never be that guy. But eventually I'm gonna be a fucking Gypsy Jazz player.
Okay, what is it about Gypsy Jazz? What is it? The lines? Is it the chording? What is it? What do you like about it?
It's the lines. I love playing on an impossible instrument to play. Acoustic guitars and you know, a 7.73 millimeter pick. You can play some lines on it. It's not the easiest thing. It's harder than electric, but when you take, you know, a 3 millimeter pick and action this big, you know, it's impossible. It's impossible at first. I couldn't. When I first got my first Gypsy Jazz guitar, I had a meltdown. I was so sad. I actually thought I got a lemon, And I got another one. That's the same shit. I'm
Did
like,
you
"Yeah."
say, I can't believe that Django could play like that on there?
It just blew my mind that he was doing that and so smoothly. And back then, and no other, I mean, not to disparage all the other guys that were great back then, but his level of smoothness, efficiency, his creativity, there was no, it was effortless.
Okay, wait. For those of you that don't know Django Reinhardt, just there's people on here that say you say Django and they don't know Django Reinhardt.
Right, yeah, he's the godfather of Gypsy Jazz, which is this very acoustic-based form of jazz, and for all of you guys that think you listen to jazz or not think you listen, but have heard jazz and you're like, oh, that's too crazy for me. This is really, from a listener's aspect, kind of like more inviting, because there's such a like childlike quality to it. It's very inviting. It's not the jazz that'll make you nervous, even though I love the jazz that makes me as nervous as.
Okay, and one thing about Django is that he was in a fire when he was a child, I believe,
Right.
a child, right? And
Right.
and he, these two fingers, I think that they were actually fused together, weren't they?
Yeah. So he was.
He only played single lines with these, and he used these two to chord with a little bit.
Yeah, these were fused together so he could kind of bar things and do stuff. But he did every like big
With two
long run
fingers.
with 2 fingers. It's the most incredible thing ever. Yeah, he literally is a gypsy. His wife would make these fake artificial plants, and he came home drunk after a gig one night and spilled it over onto a candle, and his whole not caravan but his personal trailer lit aflame, and he struggled to get out of there, and he had 3rd-degree burns all over his body. So, but made it away. Keep going.
Okay, I think we're good for now. Everybody, if you have any questions, put it in the comments below. We're gonna actually make a video now that we'll be putting out here in the next few days. And Syn, thank you. You're the man.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Rick Beato, such a stud. Please go check out his Everything Music page on YouTube, right?
Yep.
And anything else?
We're all good.
Tell the kids, you're brilliant, man.
Hey.
Good. Awesome. Thanks,
See you
everybody.
guys. Bye.